The Lord of the Rings have been my favorite movies for as long as I can remember, but they have a problem. Despite being masterpieces, these movies have 3 different categories of truly bad dialogue, but they exist for a good reason I'll get to later. But first, one of the reasons the trilogy is so beloved is that its screenwriters took great care to insert as many quotes from the book as possible.
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
We're not in decent places.
Of course you are! And I'm coming with you!
But since movies can't be endless streams of book quotes, its writers had to invent much of the dialogue themselves. And they're so good at their jobs that some of their lines are among the most iconic, Tolkien-esque quotes in the trilogy.
What are we holding on to, Sam? That there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for.
A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
You can't even tell the difference between the film writers and Tolkien. Except in the moments when you can definitely tell the difference.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys!
Okay, like the rest of the internet, I love this line. I love the implications of orcs understanding how menus work. But meat's back on the menu, boys epitomizes the first and most fun category. Iconic bad is great. It's a testament to the strength of these movies that some of its dumbest lines are among the trilogy's most memorable and memorable.
Share the load, share the load, the load, the load, the load.
The problem is that not all of its bad dialogue falls into this category. Given that The Lord of the Rings is a sprawling 1,100-page epic, its screenwriters were tasked with the challenge of entertaining audiences while also conveying vast swaths of necessary lore.
The scenes that have been hardest to translate from the book into the film are actually the exposition scenes, and by that I mean scenes that have to explain a lot of detail about the plot.
But being aware of the problem isn't the same thing as avoiding the problem. Thus enters... Explainy bad is a mostly necessary evil. Despite its clunk and cheese, it helps grandfathers and stoners understand these 3-hour-long movies. There's a ton of examples. It's like when Aragorn clearly describes a plan to distract Sauron, and then Legolas loudly and awkwardly explains that it's
A diversion.
If explainy bad were the only problem, this video wouldn't need to exist. But then there's category 3. These are the lines we don't talk about. They're the ones our psyches protect us against. Jedi mind tricking ourselves into forgetting they even exist. But they do. Oh, they do. These lines are millstones around the necks of acclaimed actors like Sir Christopher Lee, who valiantly attempts to breathe life into words like
Gandalf the White, Gandalf the Fool. But you have elected the way of pain!
The sobering truth is that these masterpieces have a not insignificant number of lines that were penned with the skill and nuance of a PS2 JRPG.
Do not stop the attack until the city is taken. Slay them all.
But this poses an important question. Since there's so much great original dialogue, why is there such a discrepancy between the good and the bad? Like all of life's big questions, the answer can be found in the Lord of the Rings extensive DVD special features.
Welcome to the second disc of the appendices.
One of the biggest misconceptions about the Lord of the Rings trilogy is that the level of meticulous detail we see on screen is mirrored by the day-to-day process of actually making the movies. In reality, this process was...
Fran described it as furiously laying the tracks in front of the train. It was as it was rumbling up behind you. There was no stopping the train, and the tracks just had to go down.
No department is a better example of this choo-choo metaphor than the writing team, where for most movies, the script is completed well before shooting begins. Lord of the Rings producer Mark Ordesky describes how
the script was literally being rewritten, I'm not exaggerating, every single day and week for the entire 15-month shoot.
Sometimes you would start a scene one day, and under your door at night there would come a few rewrites through. When I say a few rewrites, I have 2 file boxes that big. I have to tell you, some are still in the envelopes unopened. Because I was sometimes so tired, I thought, oh hell, never mind.
And I'm not trying to hand wave away a valid criticism of these movies. It's just sort of miraculous that, given the chaotic petri dish out of which they were birthed, my biggest criticism is...
Gandalf the White, Gandalf the Fool.
Because if you're gonna roast the guy, you gotta go Gandalf the White, Gandalf the Shite. All right.